a good question. So there's a few things I use to determine my entries, right? To determine my overall POI selection guide, right? I use the power of three heavily. And when I say power of three, I like to use the 10 a.m. power of three because I'm more of a scalper on ES. You can apply this to NQ. However, you can also use the daily PO3. So I do use the daily PO3. The daily PO3 becomes very powerful if you're swing trading. So for example, if you see price significantly above the daily opening price, you can hold that trade. You can almost, not swing trade it, but you can almost intraday trade it back down to the daily opening price. I'll show you that later in the video. So I like to use the PO3, daily and 4-hour PO3, right? I also like to use basic market structure shifts, right? So what do I mean by that? We can see here price has given us a fairly basic market structure shift, right? Notice how we've broken with the body as well. That's our market structure shift, right? The next thing I look for in trades is I like to see price giving us, of course, we're above the 10 a.m. Eastern, we have a market structure shift. I want to see price give a fair value gap. And the fair value gap is the most important thing, right? We can see price leaving a fair value gap. So if you don't have a fair value gap, that is not a key level, and therefore any trades you take from there are invalid. So the losses are your fault, not the market's. That's important to understand. And also the last thing, going back to one of my previous points, you would like to see a fair value gap after a major sweep of liquidity. So in this case, we see a previous day high sweep, right? Going back to our previous point. So previous day high, very important to understand. So we have that previous day high sweep over here. This is my checklist when it comes to forming A plus POIs, A plus supply zones in this case, A plus order blocks, AOIs, whatever you want to call them, right? You need to know where to trade from. And this leads on to one of my other points, is the framework. Every trade you take has to follow a simple framework. You need to know where to trade from. The where is very important. You need to know what to look for, right? And you also need to know why you are looking for it. Why are you going to buy? Why are you going to sell, right? Most traders get number 3 wrong, and we're going to understand why number 3 needs to be spot on. So this is the 3W framework, I call it, right? The 3W framework. Now from here, what's going on in price? Let's kind of zoom in. So when price comes into this fair value gap, what you are looking for is you are looking for